Green Day is one of my favorite bands of all time, and if you were watching, you probably agree. They need no introduction, okay? Everyone knows who Green Day is. The 90s were a goldmine for upcoming punk rock artists at the time, Green Day being the most successful by a mile. You can't deny that Green Day did not make a single bad album in the 90s. Other bands like The Offspring, NoFX, Blink-182, and MXPX all released some of their best works in the 90s. But in this video, I'll be focusing on the glory of Green Day's 90s albums. I won't be including EPs or anything else. I'll just be talking about the albums starting with 39 Smooth and ending with Nimrod, while also including some voices you've probably heard before if you watched my Enema of the State video. And if you didn't, what the fuck are you doing here? Watch that first. Okay, enough stalling, let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Poseidon Digital. Poseidon Digital. En MP3.
39 Smooth is not only my favorite Green Day album, but my favorite album of all time. All of the songs on it are really good, except for 1,000 Hours and The One I Want. Those are kind of ass. Some of the songs that really stand out to me are Road to Acceptance, Disappearing Boy, Only of You, and Dry Ice. And just for the record, I'm not going to specify that it is 1039 Smooth. It is 39 Smooth. Just to piss off LiamF. Bye.
"39 Smooth" was Green Day's first album for people who still think it was Dookie. This is honestly a strong debut album. There's just something so charming about this album. The production isn't rough enough to the point where I'd call this album unlistenable, but not clean enough where I would call this album immaculate. For people uneducated, John Kiffmeyer was the drummer on this album. This album kicks off with At the Library. It's no Burnout or Nice Guys Finished Last, but it really shows you what to expect for the rest of the album. The second song on the album is titled Don't Leave Me. 8 years before Blink-182 did the same thing. I Was There is a song written by John Kiffmeyer, and yeah, it's a really good one. Disappearing Boy is a really good song and a fan favorite for Green Day diehards. Green Day has a song that gets forgotten about because it's the band's name as a song, but this song is pretty good. Although it would have been much better without its excessive use of sloppy drum fills, I swear to God. Going to Pasalaco is still one of Green Day's greatest and easily a standout on this album. 16 is a really underrated song that gets overshadowed by a lot of the album. Road to Acceptance is a really good song and definitely one of my favorite Green Day songs of all time. Rest is easily my least favorite on this album. It's just kind of boring and not all that interesting, honestly. The Judge's Daughter is a great closer to this album with one of my favorite Green Day solos ever. I'm not counting the slappier 1,000 Hours EP, but those EPs have some gems too. I Want to Be Alone is a great song too. Overall, I think 39 Smooth is a very enjoyable experience and a very simple yet effective album. Overall, I'd give 39 Smooth a 39 out of Smooth. No, I'm kidding. I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Kerplunk is a very peak and underrated album. Got some bangers, but a lot of forgettable tracks. My favorite song is No One Knows, the rest are peak too. Very peak and good.
Oh boy, time for me to talk about Kerplunk. Kerplunk was Green Day's last album with independent record label Lookout Records and the first album with Mr. Trey Cool on drums. And if it wasn't blatantly obvious already, Kerplunk is easily my favorite Green Day album, and one of my favorite albums of all time. Everything from the sound of this album mixed with the more relatable themes touched on throughout makes this album a personal favorite of mine. 2,000 Light Years Away is a perfect opener and one of my favorite Green Day songs. One for the Razorbacks is my personal second favorite song from Green Day of all time. The vibes the song gives off, the lyrics, and the guitar solo all make this song immaculate. The original version of Welcome to Paradise is on here, and while not as good as the Dookie version, it's still a great song. Chrissy Road is a simple song for its first half, while kind of taking a bit of a turn near the end that I really like. Private Ale is a really fun and energetic song and one of my favorites from them. And I still get a kick out of Dominated Love Slave. And if you don't, you just hate fun. You just hate fun. One of My Lies could have easily been one of Green Day's biggest singles, and it's a really good song. 80 has a great bass line from Mike Dirnt and a really catchy chorus. Android is my favorite Green Day song of all time, okay? The riffs, the drum fills, Billy's voice, the overall concept, basically everything about this song makes me really happy. It's how I settled on my YouTube name for anyone who still thinks it's a Radiohead reference. No One Knows has a nice bass intro from Mike and really honest lyrics from a young Billy Joe Armstrong. Who Wrote Holden Caulfield is an amazing song with amazing dynamics and riffs that I really love. Words I Might Have Ate is a really underrated song with amazing vocal harmonies and just an overall vibe that feels like the credits to the album. Yeah, I'll always love Kerplunk to death and hail it as one of the most important albums of my life. This album's an easy 10 for me. Do you want to get teasers for future projects early? Do you want to never miss a premiere of a new video? Do you want to discuss pop punk bands and shit on people's opinions? Do you want to share things that you probably shouldn't share? Then join my Discord server. Everyone featured in this video is here because I was able to reach out to them in the Discord server. It's also a safe place to discuss things that you like and get your small YouTube name out there, if you're on YouTube. Which, preferably, you probably should be if you want to fit in. Pause and read the rules on screen before joining, and I'll see you there. Alright, back to the video.
Dookie. It's like the 90's Green Day album that defines them as a band. You can even say it's the single Green Day album that set the stage for them as a whole in their entire discography in the first place. It's the album that brought punk rock to the mainstream even more, the album that inspired many people back in the 90's and even now, and the album that a lot of people were introduced to Green Day from. Everyone has at least heard Basket Case or When I Come Around Somewhere, even if they didn't realize it. These songs, and more that come from this album, go down in history as some of the greatest songs ever put out in the 90's, and some of the best songs ever in the genre of punk rock. So, all in all, there's no denying that Dookie is a groundbreaking album with lots of finesse, pride, and nostalgia, and it brought Green Day up to the mainstream, despite being named after literal crap.
Dookie is not just my favourite pop punk record of all time, but also in my top 5 albums ever made, being by Oasis' first 2 albums and Weezer's Blue album. Dookie is simply a pop punk masterpiece from start to finish. Not a single miss here. Well, maybe except All of Myself, but that's a hidden track, so who gives two shits? This album has always been my favourite from Green Day's catalogue ever since I first heard it. Which, to be fair, wasn't that long ago, but who gives a fuck? Dookie is fucking great.
On the topic of Dookie, I also loaded up the CD, but the CD version I have is the one with Ernie on it. This camera quality is ass, so you can't really read anything, but it's there. That's the segment. Have fun.
Joke's on you, I got the CD and the vinyl.
Dookie, Green Day's first album with Reprise Records. None of us would be fans of Green Day without this album. I think that's safe to say. This album gave Green Day their first mainstream recognition and is arguably the most influential pop punk album of all time. The cover art is also just crack for my eyes. It's beautiful. The importance of this album cannot be overstated. The album already starts off with a banger with Burnout. The drums on this song in particular are insanely good. Having a Blast is a great follow-up with one of my favorite bridge sections in all of Green Day's discography. Chomp is just a really catchy song with an amazing ending that transitions into Longview. And Longview, while also being Green Day's first single, and it's clear why, the song is also just an anthem with an iconic bass line and drum beat. Welcome to Paradise is an amazing song with an amazing bridge that is groovy as hell. Pulling Teeth is a nice song, nothing too crazy, but I like it. Basket Case is a song everyone knows, and for good reason. It's a staple in 90's music. She is one of my favorite songs from this album. It's so simple yet so masterful at the same time. Sassafras Roots just puts me in a good mood, honestly. Something about the vibe is just so inviting. When I Come Around is another inviting song, but also another staple in 90's music. Coming Clean is my favorite song from this album, honestly. Just such a real song with a great message. I kinda wish it was longer though. And Many a Sleepless is the most underrated song from this album. It's just so catchy. In the End is another overlooked song from this album that is also just great. FOD, which stands for Fuck Off and Die, is just an amazing closer and a great fuck you song. All By Myself is a silly song from Trey that you just can't hate. Dookie has been glazed to death at this point, and I hope that never changes. Dookie is simply a 9.5 out of 10, and an essential album for anyone into pop punk or alternative music.
Insomniac is my favorite Green Day album because of how gritty it sounds compared to any other release they've done. Trey was absolutely at his peak during this era, literally bleeding from his fingers during the recording of Panic Song, showing how much effort he was putting into hitting the drums. Mike was also at his peak with the insane melodic bass lines he had. Billy's guitar tone was my absolute favorite on this album. His thick tone just had so much power, complementing the rhythm section, and his snotty vocals just encapsulates Insomniac's attitude. Some of the lyrics on this album resonate with me on a deep level. I love how personal it can get, losing myself deeper with not just the sound, but the substance of it as well. There are many songs on this album that really stand out to me. Armitage Shanks, Stuck With Me, Babs Evil Who, 86, Panic Song, Jaded. I just can't choose one song I like the most. The beautiful thing about this album is that it's something that must be experienced in its entirety. This is an album I truly will never get tired of.
So a story as old as time is that Dookie was a very successful album that made Green Day super famous, but that fame came with them getting kicked out of Gilman Street, which was a music venue for independent punk bands because they had a no major labels policy, and Dookie was released under the major label Reprise Records. That made Insomniac a much angrier album than Dookie, and it had songs directed at Gilman Street like 86. This album has some of their best bass lines like on 86, Stuck With Me, and Stewart in the Ave. Great drumming all over this, like on Panic Song, Jaded, and Armitage Shanks. And it also has a lot of catchy songs like every other Green Day album, Stuck With Me being probably the catchiest one. I do think this isn't as good as Dookie though, but I still think it's a 10 out of 10. No misses whatsoever.
The 90s were easily Green Day's most formative decade, but being flung from the underground to being one of the faces of a musical movement certainly takes its toll on you. Not to mention having everyone you thought were your friends turn their backs on you for the sole crime of finding success hurts a lot too. The band's 1995 album Insomniac is the perfect reflection of that pent-up frustration. While not my favorite album Green Day put out in the 90s, that title easily goes to Nimrod, this is a close second. Honestly, it's a toss-up as to whether or not I like Dookie or Insomniac more on any given day. The production on this album more than deserves its praise, perfectly encapsulating the key theme of the record, anger. The sound of it all is bursting at the seams with fury. I can't think of another record that is this angry in just the way it sounds. The lyrics themselves reflect the tone, if you can make out what Billy Joe is saying, reflecting on everything that's gone on in the aftermath of Dookie, which was a lot of meth apparently. All with clenched teeth and snide sarcasm that brings the whole thing together. While the bulk of the album sounds the same, that sound isn't bad in my opinion, and rewards repeated listens. Besides my love of Insomniac for the songs that compose it, like Stewart in the Avenue, No Pride, 86, and Walking Contradiction, a big reason why this album means so much to me is my deep dive on it. Not only because I still feel like it holds up quite well even 2 years after the fact, but for what it represents to me. I was pissed the hell off when I first started writing it, and in a way that anger was channeled into that video essay. The fact that at the time of recording it remains the most popular thing I've ever made, and quite possibly what most people know me for, is just a testament to not only my ability but the album as well. If Insomniac wasn't held in such high regard, people wouldn't have shown up. Despite existing in the liminal space between Dookie and Nimrod, Insomniac is a punchy, rage-fueled album that's equal parts emotional release, time capsule of Green Day's career at that time, and a more distorted version of their breakout album. I'd highly recommend it to anyone who's looking to get into Green Day.
Insomniac is Green Day's angriest and most real album by far. It just takes no breaks and is simply hit after hit. This album touches on subjects like loneliness, anxiety, addiction, betrayal, heartbreak, and well, insomnia. The cover art does a great job of showing the darker side to Green Day. Armitage Shanks already tells you everything you need to know. It's dark, honest, fast, the guitar is distorted, and Billy sings in a slightly lower register to fit with the more mature themes of this album. Brat is a simple follow-up about a bratty kid wanting his parents' inheritance money. Stuck With Me is Green Day at their angriest with a killer but very brief bass solo that makes the final chorus hit even harder. The guitar riff on Geek Stink Breath in particular is so nasty by Green Day standards and super iconic. No Pride is just Green Day doing Green Day, and it works. Babs Yuvi Lahu is a song I see get overlooked a lot, but I love how intense it gets at the final chorus and how well it captures that feeling of anxiety. 86 has a dope drum intro and does a great job at showing how pissed Green Day was at the fact they were kicked from their home during the Lookout era, 924 Gilman Street. Also, Billy's look at the David Letterman performance of the song is perfection! He's so Panic Song really encapsulates the feeling of panic very well with the instrumental intro. Stewart in the Avenue is probably my favorite Green Day bass line. Mike Dirnt is just amazing. Brain Stew is the biggest song on this album by a landslide, and it does a really good job depicting that feeling of insomnia, especially with the transition to the breakneck fast Jaded. Westbound Sign is one of the highlights on this album for me, and definitely one of the most underrated Green Day songs. Tightwad Hill is a very overlooked song in this album, but it's honestly really catchy. Walking Contradiction is a great closer with a greater music video. Overall, Insomniac is one of the most unique Green Day albums for all the right reasons. This song is a really strong 9.5 for me personally.
When asked to do this, I knew instantly I was going to be talking about none other than their 1997 album, Nimrod. As viewers of my channel know, it's my second favorite Green Day album of all time, and I'm sure most of the YouTubers featured in this video picked this one as their favorite too, because, well, it's awesome. Nimrod is basically a no-skips album for me. It's consistently energetic and diverse, and it's a perfect display of just how great their songwriting is. I mean, seriously, bro. Everything from the production to the guitar tones, even to the vocal placement, is spot on. And I know I'm being nerdy, but that's just me. This is definitely a defining moment in their career, and in my opinion, the peak of their 90s work.
So anyone who has followed me on YouTube and on Discord will know that my favorite Green Day album is Nimrod. Furthermore, for the new viewers, this is my favorite album of all time. This album is just perfect in every possible sense. What do I love it most about this album? Everything, really. Well, every song for one is an absolute banger. The guitar work is some of the best I've heard on any album. The songs are really energetic and catchy, and the lyrics can even be pretty relatable at times. And even if the lyrics weren't that great, the music more than makes up for that. And despite having 18 songs on this album, there is not a single filler song or moment where it feels like the album drags or anything. Which, for an album that has this many songs, that's pretty insane. There's no skippable songs on this album. Even the weaker tracks like, say, Take Back or Last Ride In are still amazing. And even if I wouldn't really listen to those outside of the album, I still have a lot of fun with those. Something I don't get praised enough or really talked that often about in the Green Day community is the album's production. I really love how it just bridges the gap between the raw sound of the albums prior to this with the more polished sound they would build up with albums like, say, American Idiot or something like that. I don't know if that made the most sense, but well, I tried. I also love the variety here on this album because it manages to be both varied with a few different styles, but so cohesive. And there's also a song for like every mood you could think of. Fast and Energetic, Nice Guys Finish Last, Scattered, Jinx, Hoshinka, Rejects, Prosthetic Head. More groovy and upbeat, Hitching a Ride, Worry Rock. More self-reflective, Redundant, Uptight. More laid back, Last Ride In, Good Riddance. So on and so on. I don't know if this is the best explanation for having this as my #1 favorite album of all time, but I'll just summarize it with this. This is an amazing album that I've listened to more than any album I've ever listened to in my life. It's an absolutely amazing experience that if you haven't listened to already, you should definitely go check it out. I love this album so much, and I will continue to hold it in a very, very, very high regard for as long as I live.
And while I do love those albums, I'm not trying to, diss on those albums. I think that Nimrod kind of, there are definitely some punk, like some pretty pop punk songs in there, obviously. Like Nice Guys Finish Last, Platypus I Hate You is a pretty punk song. While there are definitely punk songs on this album, I think there are more experimental kind of songs. There's some acoustic songs, even some kind of like folky songs. The 4 previous albums before it were mainly sticked to just pop punk and punk. Hell, there's even like a goddamn like elevator track here with Last Ride In. Some of the highlights on Nimrod for me include Hitchin' a Ride. That's an awesome track. It's very rocking. It's probably one of their heaviest, if not their heaviest song to date. That riff is that heavy, like don't, like that's an awesome riff. Some other highlights include Scattered. That's a very nice, very sweet track. It's about remembering someone from your past, or remembering the memories from your past in general. A very underrated one for me is Hoshinka. I love the hell out of that song. The drums are incredible. The chorus is incredible. The hook, I love the hell out of that song. The Grouch is a very fun track. It's another one of my favorites. It's a very catchy track. That chorus is just phenomenal. Uptight, I would say, is another fire song. That It's not in my top 5, but it's definitely a song I really love. The Grouch is a very fun track. Nimrod is just a very enjoyable album for me. It's probably their most like, it probably has the most to offer out of any Green Day album. And that's why it's my favorite out of their entire discography, you know. It's very fun, very consistent. There's a lot of like songs you can enjoy off of it. And I'd highly recommend it, you know.
The dumb, stupid fucking bird, I swear to God.
Hey guys, it's me, Goonmanian Music, and I'm just here to talk about Nimrod. Personally, I feel that it's the perfect amount of classic Green Day with just enough experimentation to really make it worthwhile. If they just dropped another Insomniac, it would have been good, but all bands need to experiment once in a while and, you know, find the right niche and, you know, occasionally just do something different. I also feel like Green Day around this time and to Warning were at their best live. They were very tight. Billy Joe's voice was at its best. And this was still around the time when, you know, they casually can play Going to Pass a Loco in the set and nobody would care. So yeah, that's my quick spiel on Nimrod and till we goon another time. I don't know.
Nimrod was where Green Day really nailed their sound. Insomniac being close, I don't know, they're probably tied. The drums, Billy's voice, the guitar tone, and Mike's bass just all sound great on this album in particular. This album is the Green Day we all know and love, while also mixing in aspects that were never used in Green Day's music at the time. This album uses horns, harmonica, the sound of waves, strings, harsh vocals, and other stuff that were not previously explored. The album kicks off with Nice Guys Finish Last, a great song for people who like Green Day's previous albums. Hitchin' a Ride in particular has such a great guitar riff and an awesome drop that just goes even harder live. The Grouch is such a fun song that never gets old, never fucking gets old, never. Redundant is a genuine masterpiece and has some of my favorite guitar work on any Green Day track. Scattered is considered overrated by a fair share of Green Day fans, you know who you are. But I still love how beautiful it is. All the Time is a catchy song that gets overshadowed by most other songs on this album. Worry Rock is a heavily overlooked track with one of my favorite Green Day vocal melodies of all time. Platypus is still an iconic middle finger of a song. Uptight is one of my favorites from this album, and I wish it got more attention from people. Last Ride In is great background music, honestly, and it's just, unironically, extremely calming. It's better than lo-fi beats to study and relax to. Also, this song has a fucking music video. Jinx is just a pure Green Day song that the Green Day ever Green Dayed on the Green Day song with the Green Days. It transitions into a personal favorite of mine, Hashinka. The bridge and the solo reminiscent of Walking Contradiction are just so good. Walking Alone might be my least favorite, kind of forgettable when you put it up against other songs, honestly. I mean, it uses harmonica, that's unique. Reject is an awesome statement about what Green Day stands for, and the letter it's based on just makes it way better. Also pretty sure that this song influenced the name The All-American Rejects. I don't know, fact check me. Take Back is the only Green Day song where Billy uses harsh metal vocals, and I like it. King for a Day is just an anthem and simply catchy as hell. Good Riddance Time of Your Life is a song that you've heard against your will at some point. Prosthetic Head is honestly a great closer to this album and a great song on its own. Overall, Nimrod is a really strong 9 out of 10. Green Day had an undefeated streak of 5 amazing albums in the 90s. I love all these albums dearly and above all of the Green Day albums. But hey, that's just my opinion. Let me know your favorite album of the 5, or just your favorite Green Day albums of all time. Special thanks to everyone who contributed. Remember to join the Discord server, and leave your questions in the Q&A, just ignore the deadline. Anyway, that's all I have to say really. Goodbye.